You got it. You play it.
That's not that.
No, I know you're not. Yasin was like, I'm an old school head. I was like, I don't think I've ever heard you say those words together before.
Wow.
It depends on the demographic that I'm speaking
He
to.
pulled it off well. It looked like, I'm like, oh, you can. You sound like you've said this before.
I have.
You sound like you say this all the time. Who do you say it to?
I have other friends that I talk to differently.
You make sure those friends don't meet your normal friends or your mom. Your dad would be like, why are you talking like this? Didn't bring a son to this country to talk like that. Sent you to school.
Do you guys?
I remember. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, do you guys like know all the Toronto slang?
I don't. I hate the Toronto slang.
I've been picking up slowly.
I don't like the Toronto slang. I'm all about Bronx. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I don't even like West Coast stuff is not really, but like Bronx stuff really is resonating with me these days.
The weirdest thing is that,
But like, you know why?
Here, hold on.
You know,
we're talking about slang.
Yeah.
Yasin's like, the Bronx stuff is really resonating with me these days.
I know, I was like the Bronx. Oh wow, okay, that's a new category right there.
my problem with the Toronto slang is it's not just slang.
No.
It's a
whole tone. It's a whole way of
the
being.
octave of your voice needs to go up 3 notches for you to be able to do it.
Example?
So everyone's
Yeah, What's an example? Somebody give me an example.
he's gonna have to do it.
I mean, okay, I'm
As the only guy who lives in Toronto,
Yeah.
I don't know these slangs.
Yeah.
I live by the sea and I live in Toronto.
I'll pull up something for you.
Oh,
I'll
you
give you a
know,
little something.
Yasin will call me. He was like, you know what it's about? People saying mans.
Yeah,
And I was like,
mans,
I don't know
yeah.
who says that. He's
Yeah.
like, people.
It's like I've been listening to this podcast from Time Still.
Time still.
Time still for a long time.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, I understand,
Time.
Dan.
Translator over here. You know what's crazy is that my younger brother Asa, so he does like the whole Minicamp thing.
Right.
So he would go to like the U.S. camps, and he'll hang out there
For a
and-
minute.
For a minute.
Hey,
Yeah. And so he'll do all the U.S. camps. And the thing is, he did the camp in OKC like a week back or something.
Wow.
He came.
Went to the camp in OKC.
Yeah.
All right,
Free
keep
trip. Well, they
going.
paid for it, so
Jeez.
as a
yeah, you'd
counselor.
have to pay me to go to OKC.
well, they paid him, or at least covered his costs.
Keep going.
So then, so he said people down there were impressed with his Toronto accent.
really?
Yeah, so he's listening to people talk like cowboys. So there were real Texans and Oklahomians. I don't know. I guess
Oklahomans.
Oklahomans, yeah.
Oklahumans.
Oklahomans, correct. There are a lot of Oklahomans there and Texans.
Yeah.
And he was mad impressed with their accent because it was like, it's the cowboy stuff, but
Yeah.
real subtle.
Oh, yeah.
You must be familiar with it,
Oh,
right?
you have no idea.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'm very familiar with
Oh, yeah. So he was impressed with them. And at the same time, they were like, yo, that's so cool.
it. You sound like you're on TV.
So then he asked me and my wife,
Yeah.
who are not from, well, I mean, I'm from here, but like it's been a minute since I've been here. My wife, who this is the first time she's
Yeah.
here visiting Toronto.
yeah, it's been
she's
time
like,
still. Sorry.
so he was like, hey, is my accent cool?
What'd you tell him?
I was like, no.
What do you tell your brother when he asks anything about him being cool?
No.
You're like,
It's
gotta be
And even
negative.
Farah was like, she's willing to like,
Yeah.
just,
Oh, you're watching
boost
Farah
him.
too?
Yes.
Same. Nice.
Hey.
Nice. They're different women, though.
Correct. Yes, absolutely.
Good.
That clarification was required.
Yeah. I'm like,
apparently.
hold on.
Wait a minute.
She's not Indian, is she?
No. She's got Indian in her.
Oh, we'll just stop there, man. Keep going with your story. Is that a Toronto slang?
As in, like, she's very mixed, is what I mean.
Oh, is that right? Is that common over there?
In Malaysia is a very diverse country.
Oh.
It's got the 3 like main ethnicities.
Yeah.
So you have the Malay majority. Mm-hmm. You have Indians.
Yeah.
And you have Chinese.
And they mix?
Some of them do.
Whoa.
Wait,
that's
wait,
the
wait.
thing that's...
You said some.
Yes.
But is it like a general thing or
Did they call those people a something? Like they give it a separate name, the mixers?
Mauritians,
Yeah.
some do.
Yes.
But most people don't.
Yes.
There's
Correct.
because you don't.
So
like,
in the cities, it's where it's more like, it's chill.
Yeah.
Probably outside of like KL and Johor Bahru and like the bigger cities, it's not as common.
Mm-hmm.
But because Malays are for the most part Muslim, so they're not gonna marry non-Muslims.
Yeah.
Right.
Which happen to mostly be the Indians and Chinese.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, they do call the Indians and Chinese who are mixed,
Yeah.
Chindians.
Chindians. That's not that bad.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound
that's-
horrible.
That's
Sometimes it
No,
sounds...
it's not like derogatory. It's just like
Brad and Angelina. What's
Yeah,
it
it's
called?
Brangelina.
Brangelina. There we go.
That's
Right,
exactly what it is.
exactly.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like it. Because sometimes like a dirty sounding word. Yeah, they're called the Bakhtu, and you're like, hey.
Wait, why'd you spit when you said
Yeah,
that?
exactly, right?
That's part of the thing.
Yeah, that's part of the
Mauritians
thing.
called Chinese people. I mean, this is an old thing. I don't know
Yeah.
if this is a current thing right now, but like back then they used to say literally no one.
Wow.
Oh, that's the translation of it.
Yeah. So they would say, oh, there was a couple no ones
Holy
that were in the store.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
Jeez.
Yo.
crazy.
It's like you don't exist.
Yeah. In Urdu, they call Chinese people chapte, which mean flats.
I mean, that makes that. I mean, that's almost just yeah. I
Yeah.
get it. It's not nice,
Yassine was about to say, well, that's almost a description.
but it's not nice. But I can.
No,
I
it's
can.
definitely not nice.
Do they say it with a bad intention, or is it? It's just
when
it comes
I hear
from.
it sounds like it has a bad intention.
Yeah, well, you can't hear nobody.
Yeah, it's
And
like
then
calling
I
somebody.
think it's all about the tone.
You know when I hear flat face,
Yeah.
I always think of the same thing, right? So I was watching a movie called Mongol, and it was about Genghis Khan, right? And it's from when he was growing up, and essentially these, the tribes would invade other tribes, and they would cut, or kill anyone that was taller than the size of a wagon wheel. So if you were shorter than the wagon wheel, they'll let you live.
How big were the wagons?
I mean, the wagon wheels are about like this, so like they're
Like
kids,
4 feet. Okay.
yeah. Anyway, at some point in time, Genghis's dad tells Genghis to choose a bride from amongst all of these ladies, right? They're all lined up. And he says, as this is what is a worthy thing for you to search for if you're Mongolian, is select a woman whose face is as flat as the plains.
Weird.
And that sounded really romantic in like that was something that was really really beautiful for them in that their face could be like a metaphor for like the place that they live with, which is the land, and they love their land.
Right,
as a result, as their face is flat as the land that we live on. I thought that was so cool. So that's what I think when you said like, oh, the flat people, I was like, are they really proud of like the land that they live on?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Nobody ever calls people by their best feature. You know that? No. You know, like oh, these people are really good at returning loans. No, like you pick the one thing about them you don't like.
Fair.
And like you guys are just big noses.
Yep.
You guys are big this. You guys are small that.
Wow.
And you go from there. So I also think it's super interesting that in certain cultures, like a super flat face is like hot,
Yeah.
or at a time,
Yeah.
because even that's probably
I'm
changed.
so
Yeah,
confused.
sure.
Like, what is I'm trying to imagine what a flat face actually looks like.
You can.
I think you can.
You could do it.
Yeah. Really?
I'm not seeing it. I don't know.
I mean, we can Google later. I guess.
know, but
I guess,
like,
I don't know. I'm scared to Google that, man. Like,
This guy is so not racist. He's like, my brain can't even fathom a super
I don't know
flat
what that
face.
means. Like,
You
what
not see
feature
color
is
at
flat? Like, because heads are, by necessity, there's a brain. There's very three-dimensional,
Flat nose, bro.
just flat nose. Okay, but
And then you know how your eyes are sunken into your face a little bit,
Yeah.
okay.
right?
flatter.
But so then your
It's
cheek
very-
is also
okay.
flat.
So just
I
less
need to
depth.
have. Apparently, I need
Okay.
to have like a racist Google search in my.
Yeah, you go for it, man. You
just
go
to
for
prove
it.
something.
No,
to
you gotta enter it in romantic fashion.
No.
The face as flat as the plains of
Dude,
Mongolia.
I put flat face and it said Asian afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh, this is wrong. Here you go. See how this is actually a before and after picture.
What? Is that like plastic surgery or something?
Yeah, so
That's
this lady's
unfortunate. That's super racist.
this lady's
Oh my
face was
goodness.
flatter, and then she got it more like she got her chin pushed out. She got ridges in her eyes. It's flatter here, and she got her nose to be sticking
Right.
out a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, but
It's,
Genghis would have. That's
Oh,
Genghis.
Genghis would have been all
all
over that
over
thing.
it,
He's
all
like,
over that,
yo,
yeah.
he'd just be standing there
Like,
at the
you got a sister?
as a receptionist, just convincing him
Yeah.
with a sword. I don't know what Genghis would do, man.
Genghis doesn't. What's it called? He doesn't convince nobody.
No, he just takes.
I don't think his entire life he
doesn't
was
ask
any.
either. He
It
just
wasn't
points.
any. It wasn't any real convincing.
It's
in
cool
that guy's
though. I
life.
do love the fact that like, what if like you're as a guy, let's say you're a 6 here, right? But like you go to Romania, and they're like, oh,
You see, that's what people do, right? They go to different countries,
Yeah,
and then their number
exotic.
immediately moves up.
Yeah, because you're
Hazem,
exotic now.
Can you speak to that?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Were you not exotic
Yes.
in Malaysia?
Malaysia, a bit. Definitely in China.
Okay.
Yeah. So I worked a year in China after I
China.
graduated. Yeah. And
It's Donald Trump. Every time they say China, I hear Donald
oh,
Trump
really?
say China.
Am I saying it that way?
No, I'm
Oh,
saying
okay, that's
that
what
way.
I hear.
seen it.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
like, that sounded pretty racist.
I've been watching the news.
And then he had to say it's Donald Trump. I'm like, are you?
No, like, so when I was working there, so I was working at an education startup. So that what that means is that their whole thing was trying to expand high school education in China to move beyond just like memorization of math and science to business case competitions and debating and public speaking. And I did
debating was your big thing.
I was a varsity debater for my university.
Right.
And so because of that experience, that's how I met my, future colleague who later, messaged me on Facebook like a few months before I graduated. He was like, hey, we have an opening. Are you interested? Apply. One thing led to another. Boom. Got a job after I graduated. Moved my way over to China. And basically what the job was is that we were hosting tournaments all over China. And when I say all over, I mean in like every major city and then some very not major cities.
Yeah.
Where we would it's a weekend tournament. So think missed, but only debate or only like the business case competition. Right. For the entire like a 2-day weekend or whatever.
Right.
So we were traveling around.
How many rounds? Sorry, just how many rounds would you do per day?
Oh man.
How many students total?
So the smaller tournaments would maybe have 80, 90.
Okay.
The national tournament had 500 plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you'd have regional, like whatever,
Fun.
anywhere in between.
Cool.
Fun, but very long days. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's all the pressures and stuff of missed, but
Right.
like, yeah.
Yeah. I missed.
In
I can
China.
only do exactly once a year.
Yes.
Jeez. Anyway,
We
continue.
were doing that every other weekend.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was crazy. But basically what that meant is that I'm in schools a lot, and sometimes I would go to a city before the tournament, and I would do sort of a training or sort of, I guess it's sort of promotion. I'd visit the high school. And these are Chinese, either public schools that have a very strong English program, because everything was in English, or these are private schools that, the students want to participate in.
Yeah.
And I would do like an hour-long, what they call peishun, which is like training. And I would just explain what the competition is, why it's interesting, why they should join. And I do like a little mock round or something like that. Kids would go crazy. But what I realized was afterwards, a lot of, especially like the girls, want to take pictures because white guy.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it
weird
in the
'cause
same vein as like Asians like taking pictures of black dudes over there too?
They fully do. So black people. So while I was there, I had some experience with black Americans who were there teaching or working or doing other stuff there. And they were sharing with me some of their experiences or whatever. And so they would tell me when they go to like small towns, it's like, it's more of a curiosity. So yes, in general, yes, racism 100% exists in China, especially against black people.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the reasons why I left China and moved back to Malaysia was that I was debating, I just recently got married a few months back and they want to re-up my contract. So I was like, okay, this is a long distance marriage and I don't know, I'm not feeling it.
Right.
Either she's coming to China or I'm moving back to Malaysia. So one of the things that made me go back to Malaysia instead of bringing her was that she would have a much rougher time. Not only just, existing, but like getting a job or whatever, because she could teach English. Like she speaks English like a native, like she grew up speaking English just as well as she speaks Malay. But
I was going to ask you that, like, how did you guys? Speak
yeah,
English?
she speaks 100% English. Yeah. But I speak conversational Malay as well, but that's over years I've learned. But they 100%, I'm pretty sure she wouldn't be able to get a job because she does not look white. And she does not have a white passport.
Did they assume you're white? Because
Yes, 100%. And then my passport's Canadian. And even though my blood is 100% Egyptian, which makes me fully African, I just passed for white.
Right.
White privilege is really helping me out.
oh, trust
Yeah.
me, we wouldn't be friends.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, but just to go back to what I was saying, black friends that I met there, they would tell me when they would go to like smaller cities, they would just be photographed as less. They didn't feel it was racist. Like the vibe they got was very just curiosity. Because especially in the small cities in China, you don't get a lot of black people.
Yeah.
And so they would get photos and selfies and people just excited about something.
One of my
new.
buddies was a teacher there, and he loved it there.
Yeah.
And he was like, everybody wants to touch your hair. Everybody wants to like, even just
Yeah.
but that's like once they're like, oh yeah, you're cool.
Yeah.
But he was like, you would scare the shit out of some people just by being around. But once they get used to you, they treat you like just about with curiosity. Some of them don't love you, but they treat you with curiosity. But he's like, I have scared the shit out of people just by like being around.
Yeah.
Like as soon as they see you out of the corner of their eye, they're like, oh crap.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. But
Yeah.
I think you got the best of all of that. Canadian passport,
Yeah.
white skin. You're like, yeah, Hazem. It's very common.
Yeah, tell the Americans that they don't like me very much.
Why is that?
Yeah, they put me on their no-fly list. So
What?
yeah.
Why?
So you're not even allowed in their airspace. It's not like you can't go in and land.
My guy.
If the airplane goes a little bit in and a little bit out, that's a problem for
I've
you.
been denied boarding on flights that I've literally checked the flight path. That's the level I'm at right now. I have to do that before I fly anywhere. And I saw it as like skimming the edge of Alaska. And I'm literally Googling how far the nautical border of the United States is so I saw it was like 40 kilometers, whatever, and this looked like to be about 80 on the map. I was like, yeah, okay, we should be good. But apparently,
I like how you made that call yourself.
Yeah,
No, is there no one that you can't call and be like, listen, I'm on a no-fly list. Like, is this flight okay for me?
It happens to so few people that they don't have a system for it. There's nothing. You call customer service and they'll just be like, They don't know what I say. Well, what is the flight path? They're like, I don't have that information, sir. I'm like, well,
you must sound mad sus asking that question in the first place.
I realized that. I mean, I do explain to them in the beginning that like, hey, I'm on the flight. This is the reason why. And they're like, oh, okay. But like, they don't. There's no one person that can handle this.
What happens to you? Like, what happens in that situation?
So what happens is, well, this is how I found out I was on the no-fly list.
Yeah.
This is a couple years back. I was flying home from Malaysia.
Yeah.
Just summer break, trying to come home and visit. So my flight took me through Shanghai. I was supposed to go KL, Shanghai, Vancouver, Toronto. Made it to Shanghai, and while I was in Shanghai, so I got to like the gate for the next flight. Showed up at the gate. I'm waiting, and then some random like flight agent comes, taps me on the shoulder, said, "Hey, are you Hazem Talha?" I'm like, "Yes, come with me." Take my bags, follow him, and we're sitting at like this little check-in gate, and I can see the gate like in the distance a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, are we gonna go back there? And he's like, yeah, you're not getting on this flight. And I was like, wait, what? But I can see it. It's right there.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, no, the embassy called and said not to let you on the flight. And he just said the embassy.
Yeah, which one?
And his English wasn't that great, so like I was just kind of shocked. I didn't know what to do. And I just kind of assumed it was the Canadian embassy. I was flying to Canada. Yeah. So that was my natural assumption. I was like, wait, what? Huh? What's going on? And he said, just follow me. And I didn't understand what was happening fully.
Right.
Because he was just doing things. And and I'm just following him. My older brother was with me as well. He got pulled off the flight as well because I guess he was with me.
Yeah.
And so we followed him. We got our checked bag, our bags that had been checked in to be like on the plane. Got that. And then I'm like, well, we're in the main part of the airport now. We're no longer behind security. We're just in the main airport. And the guy said, here you go. You have everything? I'm like, yes. These are all your things? Yes. Okay. You walked away. And I was just like, well, what now? And we're just like, me and my brother looking at ourselves like,
whoa,
wait, what? And like, there's no protocol for this. This was not in the training. We were not prepared for this at all.
Jeez.
So we just kind of like, and obviously I had like a Malaysian phone, and like I don't have, I can't make a phone call. I think my phone back then, that was like the last year I did not have a proper smartphone. So I just had a brick.
Yeah.
So even if there was Wi-Fi, I couldn't connect to it.
Yeah.
I was up shit creek without a paddle. So I made my way. I just found their office for the airline and knocked on the door and just like very rudely demanded I use their telephone.
Yeah.
Until they gave it to me. And then they let me use their office telephone. They're there like typing away and they're like doing their work and they're just like, okay. And I took the phone and I asked somebody to help me search sorry. I knew my dad's number. So I called my dad's number. I didn't know any other, there was no other number I knew what to call. I was like, I'll call my dad and explain to him what happened. He's like, okay, I'm going to get in touch with the Canadian embassy. You hang tight. Hung up, waited a few minutes. He called back. And then he's like,
wow, the embassy picks up real quick. I thought this was going to be like 2 days.
No, this wasn't the embassy. This is my dad calling me back.
Yeah.
He called me back and he gave me the number. He said, you call them from where you are and explain to them your situation.
Right.
So I called the Canadian embassy in Shanghai.
Yeah.
Called them, explained my situation. They, connected me to a few different people, connected me finally to a very nice lady. And I explained to her my situation. She said, okay, I'm going to fast forward like 9 hours of phone tag, basically.
Yeah.
And
still at that one spot.
Well, still in the airport. So at this point, like we left. We got something to eat, to change some money, went to use the bathroom, whatever. We're just like hanging out. We don't know what's gonna happen, so it's just like, ugh. Finally, she calls back and she explains, "Yeah, that's not us. That's the Americans. You're on the TSA's no-fly list." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, how do we fix this?"
Yeah.
I was like, "This must be a very simple remedy to this. Yeah, can you call them and tell them to take us off?
Yeah.
Can you do that, please? I'm trying to get home." And then she was like, "Yeah, that's it's gonna take a while. You're gonna have to find another way to get home." And I was like, "What do you mean another way to get home? Because you still can't get on that flight because it goes over U.S. airspace apparently." So that's when I realized, oh, we're different. We gotta do something really crazy.
The crazy thing is you can't even fly over them.
Correct.
You're like, I'm not even trying to come down. Like, you might do something from up there.
I'm
like,
just
what's
like,
that?
Like, because apparently that flight to Vancouver. So later I checked it out. I think it like skimmed the. You know how Alaska has like a bunch of islands at the very end of it.
Yeah.
Most of them are like not inhabited. That's kind of what we fly over. And I was like, who cares? About
I just feel like, hey man,
I'm just saying,
I
like,
can't fly
not
over
that I would
you.
do it,
Even if I
like,
was, that would be such a horrible target.
I mean,
Yeah.
come on. So yeah, so I couldn't get on that flight. And the thing is, this airline, all of their flights to get me to Canada, they all like go over U.S. airspace in some way.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're like, the best we can do for you is send you to Frankfurt, and you can try to sort yourself out there. So I said, I called my dad, let him know what's up. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to Frankfurt. Can you like buy me a ticket from Frankfurt? Like, can you find a way to get me home, basically?
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, I'll work it out. Got on. They sent us to Frankfurt. We routed our stuff. Landed in Frankfurt, and then once we got there, I opened up my laptop, connected to the Wi-Fi, whatever. And my dad's like, okay, found you a flight, goes through Iceland, but it's in a day or two.
Yeah.
So just hang out. So me and my brother just spent a night in Frankfurt.
Oh, that's nice.
It would be if it was on purpose.
Just in the airport.
No, we actually like left and went to the
okay.
city center and like booked a like student motel, whatever.
All right.
It would have been a nice little holiday
If you wanted to.
If we wanted to be there.
If you
know?
weren't alleged terrorists who can't fly over America.
Correct, and just like trying to get home like the poor students that we were.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then made it back, and then we flew through Iceland, and then from Iceland because that's like north.
Yeah.
That's like
Right.
the only way into Canada. The tyranny of geography dictates that there's no other.
Yeah, because also airlines like to stay above ground as much as possible. Right?
What do you mean?
They like trace land because if there's a failure or anything, they can land on land.
Oh, yeah,
so
for
they
sure.
so they maximize the amount of time they can stay.
It's not just that. It's also just the curvature of the Earth, and it just makes it's fuel efficiency is what it is.
Right.
So whatever is the fastest way to get them from point A to point B and use the least amount of fuel and charge you can get the ticket money more as a profit. That's what they're gonna do.
Right.
Yeah,
And so
I always because sorry.
yeah.
No, I love it. It's like this got so nerdy at some point. He's like, well, because of the curvature of the earth, and also over land, you got to land. He's like, because of economy. And I was like, yeah, this is going to touch all the subjects pretty soon.
Yeah, because when we go to Mauritius, a lot of times they try to they don't go right over middle. They'll go over Africa for a little bit.
That makes sense.
Could
kind of
be.
thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So man, and
And you're never going to get off.
well, here's
so how's that
here's
work?
the thing. So this was a few years ago. So I realized what happened, got home, and there's a process for that. It's through the Department of Homeland Security in the United States. There's a website where you go to and you just make your complaint and say, hey, I think I was wrongly put your details, you send it, you hope they respond. They responded. My brother got off the list. I was rejected. And the thing is, they never actually confirm you're on the list. Even the language of like the letter we get back was like, we have no reason to change your status at this time. Like at no point do they even acknowledge that there is a list or that I am on any list or that there's any sort of repercussions from that. It's just like, whatever your status is, we're not changing it. And that's it. That's all they said.
No explanation.
No
reason.
explanation, no nothing.
Did you Google your name and then see if you could find the actual guy? Then maybe go kill him.
So here's the thing. So I at first I have no idea what triggered my name being on the list, right? So I thought it was just wrong name, somebody similar or whatever. And also there was a mix up. I remember when we were leaving KL when my brother had because my brother had booked the tickets and he booked my name. He put my name Hazem Amin Talha. Amin is my last name. It's my dad's name, but it's not on any of my official documents. Like I never registered. Like I just go by Hazem Talha. Excuse me. So, at the airport when we were in KL, they were like, oh, we have the wrong name. There was a mix up, whatever. So it took a few minutes to change up.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe that might have something to do with it. Like maybe something, I don't know, kink in the system or whatever, right?
I was like, this is really low standards for terrorism.
I don't know,
This name is extra. What are you doing? Get out of here.
I was confused as hell. So here's how I know for sure they know who I am now and they still want me on the list.
Okay.
Yeah. So while I was that same summer, I was in Toronto and Miss Nationals was happening. And it was in Detroit. And I was planning from time. I want to go. Because I have friends in Detroit. I want to go Miss Nationals. It was a trip I wanted to do. So now after this whole debacle, I was like, okay, well, maybe this isn't safe. I was like, it's a no-fly list. They never said anything about a bus.
Yeah, like a no drive list.
Aha! I thought I was a genius. So I actually like
Get over here. I'm not trying to. I try so hard not to get on anybody's radar. He's like, they'll be fine. I'm not flying in.
I actually called the hotline for Department of Homeland Security to ask them if it's like the same list, if I'm going to have any trouble.
Yeah, what'd they say?
So I don't.
No one talks to everyone else.
My dumbass didn't even bother asking the name of the person I spoke to. But basically, the lady on the phone was like, "Oh, that's a different list. You'll be fine." I was
so
like,
there is a list, like
Yeah.
Imagine if you did get her name and they were like, "You can't come in," but you're like, "Janet said." You're like, "Oh, Janet, get in here."
I think it's just like find her or whatever. She gave me wrong information, screwed me over. But yeah, so she was like super confident. I was like, "Are you sure?" She's like, "Oh yeah, it's fine." I think she's just trying to get me off the phone.
Right.
I was like, "All right, cool, I'm good." My dad was like, "Are you still going to the States?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, I called them. It's fine. It's all good."
I called the States.
I called the States.
You're
They said
so
it's fine.
trusting.
I know, right? My naive self. So fast forward, I get on the bus. We go. When we get to the border, it's a bus, right? There's like 50 of us or whatever, and they're not checking everybody's passport. Well, they are, but just like visually, people like 2 customs officers climb on board. Just visually checking passport. Have a nice trip, guys. Got off the bus. We're in.
Right.
Like that was it, right? I was like, oh, cool. She was right.
Yeah.
Fast forward, had a great time at Mist. I stayed back an extra day.
Damn it, Hazem.
I know, right? Because I had friends that I wanted to visit. I hadn't seen in a while. I was like, you guys go ahead. I'll take a Greyhound back.
Right.
And so, so I did just that. Stayed over with my friends. Next morning, they dropped me off at the Greyhound. Had my ticket. Get on the bus. And then the Greyhound is like a little ways away from like the actual border. So we're driving like half an hour, whatever, get to the border. And once we're there, the bus stops. I'm like, okay, we're regular check. And then it stays stopped and buses are going past. I'm like, what's going on? And then a customs officer climbs on board with a K9, makes a beeline to my seat. He says, "Are you Hazem Talha?" I'm like, "Yes." "Come with me." I'm like, "Oh, I remember this.
Yeah.
This has happened to me before." So I grab my stuff and I get off with him. And we're just like in the customs place, like at the border.
Yeah.
And then I start getting questioned by whoever was sitting there. They're asking me my full story, and the one thing they keep on going back to is, "How did you get in here?"
Yeah.
And I was like, you guys let me in. I was on the bus. There was a. You guys not check this thing?
Yeah.
I came in here because you guys let me in. And at this point, the bus is gone. Like this bus has continued on without me. Like they're trying to sort out my situation. So 2 or 3 people asked me the same set of questions, and I answered the same set of questions over and over. And then finally, they're like, "Well, we don't know what to do with you. So immigration is coming over, and they're going to talk to you."
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So I sit there and I wait, and I'm just chilling. And I see some guys in plain clothes come in. And I thought they were people, poor souls like me, being held up. And then I see the customs officer talking to them. Then he calls me over while he's still talking to them. And I walk over. He's like, "These are FBI agents. They want to have a little word with you." And I was like, "Wait, what? You liar. You said they were immigration." "There's no department called immigration. Wait a minute." So, and I remember at the time, like he was introducing, like they introduced their names, and it was Agent blah, 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 Agent blah, blah, blah. And the third one, his name was Agent Ramirez. And I just remember in my head going, "That's the most stereotypical FBI agent name ever. This will be hilarious later." But in the moment, I was scared shitless.
Okay.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I'm pretty tense right now.
Yeah. That level of anxiety. I was just thinking about how much anxiety I would have during that
Oh,
time.
you have no
It was
idea.
way
You
too
were a
much.
lone wolf.
And I was by myself. So this was like solo. I didn't even have my brother for
That's why
support.
it's more dangerous. You're like a
Yeah.
lone wolf on a Greyhound, and this guy has a
Yeah.
K9.
Did you have a
100%.
phone call at that point? Did your parents?
They took my phone. They took my laptop. Couldn't have access to anything. I requested a
You-
phone call. They
if
said
you
no.
disappeared right there, no one would know what the frick happened to you.
Yeah, and I knew it. I had like read enough to know that like borders are very gray areas, and they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
Anything they want.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so I was at that point when they said, because up until that point I was just like, let me just be as cooperative as possible.
Yeah.
I just want to get home. Let me, I'm being friendly with the guy. He's asking me about the Super Bowl, whatever.
Yeah.
This point I was kind of scared.
Yeah.
So the FBI agents sat down, and they're like, they start off real friendly, like
Yeah.
they're like, "So tell me your story, man. I know you've probably explained to everybody else before, but just I don't know. They called us. We came down here. I don't know. Just talk to me, man. What's up?"
Right.
And I tell him my entire life story.
Yeah.
Like better than some of my friends at the time probably knew.
Yeah.
Like in that level of detail. And he's like nodding along. He's just cool. There's 2 of them. One's taking notes, and they're just, they're very conversational, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be cooperative. I just want to go home. Whatever the mix up is, let's clear this up. I'm trying to get out of here.
Yeah.
I should have just asked for a lawyer. Is what I should have done, because it took a turn when they asked me. I told them I'm studying in Malaysia. I was doing economics, Islamic finance, Oh, they're curious. And then they asked me, "Are there any groups there in Malaysia?" I'm like, "Well, what kind of groups?" "Oh, anything political or stuff like that." My naive, dumb self is like trying to be forthcoming.
No.
And they're asking me about like, so I mentioned one group that's like supports Palestinian causes. They're like, oh, okay. Do you have like friends?
Hazem.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I know. As I'm saying it now, I realize how dumb I was.
Keep
to
going.
Actually
I want to
answer.
know how dumb you are.
Yeah. Here's how dumb it is. They asked me about.
I tried to convert them.
No, God, no.
And
Actually,
Ramirez,
here's the thing.
Rashid, I mean.
I probably would have been better off if I tried to do that
Yeah.
instead of what I actually said. So I told them, yeah, this group, they raise money for Palestine, and I said, it's nothing violent or nothing like that. They're just, trying to raise money to help the refugees and and help the situation there because they disagree politically.
Intifada.
And then they asked me, do you have lots of friends in this group? And I was like, oh, yeah, I have some friends.
Yeah.
Do any of them support violent ideologies? And at this point, because something in this tone changed,
Right.
my
I
impression.
like how the tone was the giveaway and not the actual questioning. but go on.
No, well, here's the thing. The tone led me to believe that I thought he knew something, and now he's like trying to see what I know about it. Right? Like that was the way he was asking me. Like he knows something happened there, like something about this group that I don't know. Some people were involved that I'm not aware of, and something bad, whatever. And now he's grilling me for information about what I know.
Yeah.
And so I start talking like, whoa, whatever happened, I don't know anything else about it. So I come off super suspicious.
Yeah.
Mad suspicious.
Get close to the mic. Go on.
Yeah, like mad. It was bad.
Yeah.
It was like in hindsight, oh my God, it was bad. I came off mad suspicious. And so I remember saying the words, guys, I'm not guilty of anything. If anybody did anything, I don't know anything about it. I'm ignorant of it. And it was only later on that I realized they were really on a fishing trip.
Yeah.
Like they literally, it's what they said. They got a call. Some dude here is on no fly list. He's here. He's seen. And the thing is, the guy told me, and here's how I knew. So after talking and telling the story, and like at that point, now they start really grilling me. It's no longer friendly. They're asking me, do you know about any plots against the Israeli embassy in Vietnam? I was like, I've never been to Vietnam. What the hell are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
And they're asking me about different Israeli embassies and stuff like that. Very not friendly now. And I'm super nervous now because I can, the entire vibe has shifted.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, maybe I'm not going home today. And I'm sitting there and my knee is doing this, like it's bouncing a mile a minute.
Yeah.
And the guy looks at me, he's like, I want to believe you.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you. He knows, I want to believe you.
Yeah.
And I sat there going like, there's a butt coming. And I said that.
Yeah.
And he was like, but I don't know, man. You look really nervous and tense. And I said,
God damn it.
and it kind of like surreal. It was really surreal. And I said to him, I was like, I'm sorry. It's not every day I get interviewed by the FBI. Excuse me if I'm not really handling this appropriately. Like I said those words or something to that effect.
Right.
Mashallah, man.
Yeah. I know I
You're
looked-
so lucky to be here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could have been.
They could do anything.
Disappeared you.
Here's the thing. If they had anything on me, they would have arrested me.
Of course.
They really would have.
Or you could have just gone down this road of like, yeah, I know some people. I'm not going to tell on them. What are their names? I can't tell you.
I don't know, bitch.
Yeah.
I know snitch rather.
That's the thing. They started asking me names, and I didn't want to give random names of friends that I knew who were in the group.
Yeah.
Because they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Right? And so now they think I'm being cagey with them.
Yeah.
So
Right.
now I'm no longer coming off as cooperative.
Right.
Now they think I
Right.
have something to hide. Now they think I know something, and I know people, and I'm just not sharing.
Right.
Yeah, well, which is what I would have thought too.
If
Fair
you're an
enough.
FBI
Yeah.
agent named Ramirez.
I'm glad they just let you.
So after that, so this is at hour like 5 or 6 of being held there now.
Yeah.
And they wrap up the interview going like, listen, if any of your friends get in touch with you from the group, let us know. And he dude gave me his card or whatever. I was like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I took it. And then they left.
Fucking clowns.
I know. And then they just left me there. And another like 2-3 hours passed by. And then finally, like whoever the head person was in charge, some lady, she came in, they took me to a holding room. So up until this
Yeah.
time, I was just like in like
Interview area.
Like it's like a wait.
Oh, it's a lobby area. Okay.
It looked like a bus stop, honestly.
Yeah.
Right? I wasn't like, chained up or anything like that. I was just there. Now they took me to a holding room, and this looked like a proper like interrogation room, to be honest. Like it was like all it was missing was a swinging light.
Yeah.
Like metal chairs, bare concrete walls, like yeah. And she sat there with another officer who had like interviewed me before, and she asked me this, and she sat me down. She said, "I'm just gonna ask you one time, and I need you to be honest with me. How did you get into this country?" And I was like, "I'm gonna tell you, like I told your friends.
Yeah.
You guys let me in." And
Yeah.
I told her the story. She said, "Okay, we're gonna send you back. There's no more buses that are heading back to Canada, so we have to drive you in our squad car. But because it's in our squad car, our policy is we have to handcuff you."
Oh, boy.
I said, "Oh, okay." And
This sounds like a trap, damn it.
You're like, I trust you.
what choice
What
do I
choice
have?
do I have? No, of
I'm
course.
there in the friggin' interrogation
Yeah.
room, you know? And I just was happy that it sounded like I was getting the chance to go home.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. Sure. And man, they're serious about. They handcuffed me like they actually caught me doing something.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I
yeah.
killed 5 people.
Yeah.
Like they saw me kill 5 people in cold blood,
Yeah.
and they had it like tight.
I
and
like
they
that.
they put the hand on the head
Yeah.
into the like. I felt like I'm a bad criminal.
Yeah.
And I was in the back seat going like, wow,
This is what it feels like.
okay. Drove across to the border, handed me over to these Canadian guys. And these Canadian guys are the biggest Canadian guys I've ever seen in my life. These guys are huge. They're massive. The guy took me. This is how big he was or how small I was at the time or still am. He, with one hand, so my hands, they uncuffed me, but my hands were still behind my back.
Yeah.
The Canadian dude grabbed both of my wrists with one arm, with one hand, and held my bag with his other hand. And he said, walk. I walked. I was like, wow. And so they put me in a holding room. And then 5 minutes later, they were there, brought me some water or whatever. And the dude was like, hey, so what happened? I was like, man, I just got held at the border for 9 hours. He was like, ooh, that sounds rough. Well, here's your stuff. Bus station's down the road. Have a great trip. Wow. And that was it. And he just let me walk. And I just went, got a new bus ticket and went home.
Okay.
Jeez.
So
That is an amazing story.
So,
It's
So
a
Tom
sad
Hanks is
story.
going to play me in the story.
oh man.
he would pass for you.
Yeah.
That
He's
white
been
privilege still working.
in 40 years, maybe.
in Terminal and Castaway. He could figure this thing out.
It was bad. So at that point, so I appealed my appeal that I got when they rejected me. That only came in after that interview. So I feel like that interview may not have helped. Believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The one where you were cagey?
Yeah.
I have friends. You can't know their names.
No, I didn't say you can't know their names.
Yeah.
It was just
I
like,
support Palestine, but in a non-violent way.
yes, I was. Oh my god, man, I'm telling you, I cringe at myself when I think back at that.
And also, I didn't do what you think I did.
You don't understand.
You know what- you know what
happened?
Here's the thing.
I'm not involved. What's happened? What's happened, Hazem Tala?
Everybody thinks they're gonna be a badass.
Yeah,
when
no.
the FBI
I was
is
just
knocking down your door.
about to say, I doubt that I would even hold up. Like I would, it takes a lot of training, really, for you to be able to stick to your guns and say what truly would be able to protect you. As simple as saying,
Give me a
lawyer.
lawyer. Yes.
Because you think, and you watch all your TV shows, you
Oh,
watch
yeah.
whatever.
Oh, yeah. I'm no
Immediately, once when you say you have ask for a lawyer,
Yes.
they're putting you in a hole. And they're going to treat you a whole new level of intensity of bad.
Yeah.
And so for you to kind of let me see if I could just finagle this,
Yep.
because maybe it's only just one more hour. Maybe if I just finished speaking to this guy face to face, I'm not going to say anything too crazy because there's nothing to say too crazy. I'm just going to try to reason with him, and then maybe I can go on the border.
100%.
And you keep thinking it, and then what happened was, and the way how I can almost see it happening. The first one was when you figured this is right after this conversation, I should be clear. And then they brought someone else. Right after this conversation, I should be clear. Then they brought immigration. You're like, well, maybe after this one, then I'll clear. Then you find it's FBI. You just keep going down this road.
It never
Very
ends.
difficult to go.
It's really hard.
And sorry.
Yeah.
While you were telling the story about you're being questioned, and in retrospect, you can think back and you're saying everyone thinks that they could be a badass or whatever. But the thing is that. So did you watch that Netflix documentary or no, it's an actual show, but it was based on the Brooklyn Nine?
I know what you're talking about. I didn't watch it, but
Okay.
I'm familiar with the story and what happened.
These are all kids. They were 13, 14, 15 years
Yep,
old.
yep.
They got picked up with this large sweep.
The system can pin you for anything if they really want to.
Exactly. And the thing is that because they were black, because they were poor, they don't even know that you could ask for a lawyer. And so they leveraged this, and including they leveraged the parents, and they said oh, you need to go back for your medicine? Please, yeah, go for your medicine. We'll hold your kid over here. Not knowing that if a parent willingly leaves their kid behind, now they can go and question them without a lawyer. So they manipulated everyone for them to be able to get what they wanted to get. But the thing is this, if any one of those kids stared at the cop and just said lawyer over and over again, they would have never gone to jail. They would have never because every one of them had to rat on everyone else. I'm telling a very long story, but ultimately what I'm trying to get at is it's so foreign to us to stare at someone, the first person that comes to me like, yo, how come you're here and whatever, and you're like, lawyer, motherfucker. It's not a
natural instinct.
It's not a natural instinct, but it needs to be specifically, it needs to be like a lot of people, when I was watching that documentary specifically, but like when you're telling me the story as well, we all need to know lawyers' numbers. We need to know a lawyer who we need to call. And the moment we get into a situation where we could incriminate ourselves, like what you close to did in that conversation, lawyer. That's it. You have to. And you have to be able to hold on to it. And I don't know what kind of training it is to do that, but like, man.
It's just, you got to be aware. And the thing is, obviously, after the fact, I've become a lot more educated about the whole process and, you know, how they, you know, what they do. But like, you got to understand, when you're being grilled by the FBI and you're sitting there, and they've taken away my phone. They won't. I've asked for a phone call, and I was like, oh, okay, I one of my rights is a phone call, right? Yeah. I looked it up later. No, it's not. Not at the border. It's a gray area. You have no rights. You're not American. You have no rights.
That's what I was wondering.
They can do with you what they please.
Do they even need to necessarily give you a lawyer since you have no rights? Since you're
honestly, you know, maybe if I demanded enough, they might have given it to me. But like,
but it's not the same if you're a citizen.
I'm not a citizen, so it's a lot more. And you're not there legally for me. Well, I mean, I thought they let me in, so like, I get what you're saying.
By the way,
as far as they're concerned,
I don't even think technically you have the right to ask for a lawyer, frankly.
But it still would have been the right thing to do. Like
probably.
even if, you know, they didn't want to give it to me immediately, after you know 2 hours of me saying lawyer, they'll say fine. Like they'll do something other than like
what they were doing.
Anything would have been better than having that conversation with the FBI that I did.
I'm glad you got through, man. Because that's the kind of stuff where they can put you in a holding facility indefinitely.
Yes,
because that's what happens on the other side of the border, on the southern side.
It was a crazy experience, man. And so ever since then, I've appealed. They rejected my appeal. I've appealed again. They rejected that. And then ever since then, basically, anytime I travel, thankfully, you know, one of the perks of living in Malaysia is that most of my travel has not been towards the U.S. side. So like, I've been fine. And like, I haven't been able to go to Australia though. I tried. But like, you guys know what the Five Eyes are?
Yeah, those guys are pretty strict.
They're tight.
What are the Five Eyes though?
The Five Eyes are
I've heard of this, but
these are 5 nations that share a lot of national security information. So they share these sorts of lists and databases together. So they're pretty tight. So that's the United States, Canada, the UK, New Zealand, and Australia. So I thought those would be the countries that, you know, I will have trouble with. Canada, I'm cool. I'm Canadian. They have to let me in. I've been to the UK. No problem. EU, no problem. I haven't tried going to New Zealand. I tried going to Australia more than once. Denied. So normally the visa for Australia is you just apply online. It's a they call it's an ETA, whatever. But like for most Canadians, Americans, and like, you know, countries that they don't think are a problem or whatever, or they just happily let you in, you get it within like 2 hours online. I applied. They said, oh, for some reason yours taking a little bit longer. Wait 24 hours. I did. Afterwards, rejection.
Wow.
Is there an organization you can talk to around this?
So if I was American, there are. There's pro bono lawyers, there's the ACLU, there's different organizations that deal with this sort of thing. But because I'm not American, my only recourse is... So I've read about people who've been on the list, like similar situations to myself, where they're not Americans and they're on the list and it's like really screwing with them. In fact, one of them was a Malaysian. And I forget her name, but she was like a Malaysian lady. She was like a Stanford graduate or something, and she was doing her PhD. And she actually hired a lawyer and took the United States federal government to court. And it took something like 3 or 5 years. And in the end, the judge ruled that they had to give her a reason, or they had to let her challenge being on the list. And eventually she was able to get off. But that was 3 to 5 years of a court case that she had to pay for out of her own pocket. And that's how she was able to finally get off.
Yeah.
Right. So getting off the list is
problematic.
Yes, to say the least.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't think you get off of that. Actually, that's how we got on this conversation.
Yeah. No, I mean, my own... So that's kind of what I'm kind of just like, okay, I just need to hire a lawyer and do it. So when I have the time, money, and, you know,
I think you're still brave to be flying around. I would stay all the way put somewhere.
Yeah.
No, I mean, well, I'm not going to let them... So I'm living in Malaysia, but like, I want to come home. I want to visit my family. I want to see you guys, you know?
Right.
My voice just go high. 5 octaves there for a second. No, I mean... I don't know. I'm not going to let it stop me. And the thing is, I've paid so much extra in ticket fares because I can't just buy the cheapest ticket.
Yeah.
I have to do so much research before I can book a ticket to go somewhere, like to come home, basically. That's really the main thing, to come home, to see. And the thing, you can't do the multi-stop thing. Mm-hmm. So you can't just be like, oh, okay, I want to stop in Iceland, and then come here. That's like the third time.
I know, man. That thing,
and he gets a kick out of it every time.
That thing's gonna get you. Watch out.
So what I have to do is I have to buy a round trip ticket from KL to like Iceland,
right?
And then a separate round trip ticket from Iceland to here.
Wow.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, I can do the multi-stop, but then they charge you like $30,000.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I always pay like 1,000 or 2,000 extra than whatever the cheapest ticket available for that time is in order to be able to get home.
What must be tough is that whenever for work, they're like, hey, we need to send you this place. And they're like, oh, well, I don't know if I could go there. And they go like, hey, why? You're like, well, there was a misunderstanding, right? I didn't do anything. I had some friends. They were in some non-violent work. Like every time you have to explain it, you sound possibly like a terrorist.
Yeah.
Like even if I know you, I'm like, maybe he is. I don't know.
So I was lucky enough that most of my work is around I mean, my current job now, I don't really do much travel. But when I was working in China, my travel was mostly in China, maybe Southeast Asia. Yeah. Actually, there were opportunities at that job in China to come over to the States because they have programs and stuff they do, which would have been really cool. But before I even got hired, I explained to them the situation. Yeah. And they're very understanding. They know the U.S. government is...
They just don't like it. They're like, those assholes. We don't even ask questions.
Yeah. I mean, I told them the full story, whatever, and they were like very sympathetic. They were like, all right, fine. So we'll just make sure you're doing programs in China, whatever. You don't have to worry about it.
If there's something we know about Hazem, he likes telling the full story.
Yeah.
To everyone.
Clearly. So
next time somebody asks, like, listen to this podcast.
Yes, here you go.
And you can increase viewership.
I told like a very short version of this story in a debate.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was like an exhibition debate on campus where we were, I forget what the topic was, but I used it to like support my point of view. I was like, I've had experience with this. Yeah. I don't know if we won or lost because of the exhibition debate, but I felt we won.
Right. Fair.
Yeah.
You win, man. You win. You were able to get out of that situation. That's...
Man, it doesn't feel like I won. And the thing is...
I feel stressed right now.
Yeah.
Coming on this trip, though, so I made my way to Iceland, and I knew like, all right, I'm prepared for this. And every time even when I landed in Canada that first time, and every time since then, whenever I have to go through secondary screening, like they'll go through my bag, my checked bag, without fail, 100%. Like there's no pretense of random at all. Yeah. It's like they draw some red circle, whatever.
They call it Hazem. You're at this point, you're just high-fiving the security.
People. I'm on first name basis. What's up, Frank? Good to see you. It's been a minute.
I don't even bolt my luggage. It's just zippers. Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this time I made it as far as Iceland, and I was like, yo, I'm here without any trouble. Like the hard part is over, you know? And I'm like, I'm home free. And I tried to check in for my flight here to Canada, and I step in front of the queue at check-in, weigh my bag, and the lady says, oh, I have a notification on my screen. Gotta make a phone call. This will just be a minute.
Oh, man.
Gets on the phone. And she dials the number. She doesn't tell me who she's calling, but she's just dialing a number. And there's another dude standing there. He was there helping her, whatever. And he was like, oh, don't worry, but this happens all the time. I was like, oh, really? And I was like relieved. I was like, really? And he was like, yeah.
I like how you believed him again.
I had hope. No, here's the thing.
Hazem, what are you doing, bro?
So I didn't like fully believe him. In the back of my mind, I knew it was still possible, but I was like, okay, let's see what he says. He says, oh, people have new passports.
Yeah.
I was like, is your passport new? I was like, yeah, I just renewed my passport because my other one was full. I had like 1 page blank. I was like, let me get a fresh 10 pages free before I travel here. And I was like, yeah, it's new. He's like, yeah, this happens all the time, new passport. I'm like, all right, well, maybe this is just one of those things.
Right.
Maybe I might get out of this unscathed. And the lady's still on the phone, and it's like a very serious conversation. She's put on hold for a while. And I'm talking with a dude who's just chilling. He's Polish. He's working here in Iceland, all kinds of nonsense. And then she's still on the phone. And the longer she's on the phone,
oh my God,
the percent of trust I had in the dude and what he said starts dropping precipitously. And at one point, she's on the phone, and he looks up at me, and she goes, but what do I tell him? And I was like, oh, okay, all right. Yeah, let's do this. And so...
you drop down on your knees, you push your hand.
And so I asked, can I speak to whoever's on the phone? Mm-hmm. And then she asked, like, can the passenger speak to you? Mm-hmm. And she looked at me like, they refuse to speak to you. I was like, who is they? And she was like, this is the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. I was like, yep. And like any doubt at that point, that like I was 90% sure what it was at that point. That was like the final done. You know.
Tell him F you.
Yeah, no, 100%, dude. 100%. If I got on that phone, because I knew there was, it's not that she's not gonna remove me on the list because she had a phone call conversation with me.
Yeah.
I was literally just about to say, "Hey, you feel proud of yourself?
Where's Ramirez?
Did you
Says Ramirez in here.
Did you protect the homeland today? What a patriot!"
I like how you sound like a middle-aged mom.
Yeah, right? Let me speak to
Are
your
you
manager.
proud of yourself?
Yeah.
Are you?
Are you a big man?
What did
you
happen?
You feel big now?
What did happen?
So what did happen was, so she refused to, let me talk or whatever. And I was like, so what am I supposed to do right now? Just to see what they would say.
Yeah.
And whoever was on the phone said, like, had her scribble down like a phone number and a website, which is basically the appeal thing that I did before that I was rejected from already.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like, that's not an immediate thing. That's like a months long, whatever.
Right.
Like I'm like, okay, they're just trying to get rid of me. So I was like, okay, I'm stuck here now. So the dude, really nice guy, I said, can I borrow your phone? Borrowed his phone, found the number for the Canadian embassy here in Iceland. Called them up, explained my situation. Phone tag back and forth. Finally connected to like the right person. This was like the High Consul of Iceland, whatever his name is. His name was Aaron. His name, I forget the official title, but his name was Aaron. Nice guy. And he said apparently this had been happening. Shout out to Aaron. He really was a help because he was telling me other people who had been in a similar situation. So I was like, I always fly through Iceland. Like, why does the U.S. even have jurisdiction right now? I'm flying from Iceland to Toronto. Where does the U.S. come into the picture? Like, I booked this flight for a reason. I know my situation, Yeah. And so he said, yeah, this is actually in the last 2-3 years where they started clamping down on this because apparently that flight from Iceland, either the wingtip dips across the border, or they have clearance to, like in case of emergency, they have clearance to land on the U.S. side, which is effectively the same thing as flying over the U.S. airspace. And so just in the last 2-3 years, which is coincidentally since the last time I've been here, that's when they started clamping down on this. And so people who are on the no-fly list where they would have been just fine before, now if they try to go to Toronto and Montreal, apparently, they get denied boarding. And so I said, okay, well, what did those other people do? He said, well, they do one of two things. They've either flown to Edmonton or Halifax, and they fly to Toronto from there.
Or they live in Iceland now.
Or they're Iceland citizens, So hope you like the weather.
So you had to land in Halifax?
No, there was no flight to Halifax,
Okay.
so my only option was Edmonton. And then, while my flight to Edmonton was like, I had to buy a brand new ticket to Edmonton, sent me back good $1,000 because I'm buying it on the day of. And so I'm just Googling like, flights from Edmonton to Toronto.
That's so gross. $1,000 to go to Edmonton.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh no, highway robbery. And I'm Googling like, what the flights from Edmonton to Toronto look like. And they all go over like Michigan. Like they fly over the edge of Michigan or whatever. I'm just like, I'm not trying to pay for another ticket and then get denied on that one too.
Right.
So I was like, what are my other options? And I look up, maybe there's a bus, right? Apparently Greyhound stopped operating in West Canada 3 years ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Then I'm like, okay, what about train? Well, there's a Via Rail train.
It's like a guy suspected of terrorism can't get a ride anywhere nowadays.
Yeah. And then I looked up the Via Rail train, and there's a train from Edmonton. How long does it take to get to Toronto? 3 days.
Oh my God.
And there's no Wi-Fi.
After all that whole story about it, and no Wi-Fi.
That was the part that ticked me off, believe it or not.
Isn't it a human right now?
Man, dude, I'm traveling. So I've been on traveling from KL for like damn near 30 hours. I'm trying to get home. And I took 3 weeks off from work. I'm using all of my vacation days. Every single one of those days are valuable to me. I want to be home. The idea was that I'd, recover from jet lag at home, and then by the time my wife arrives, I pick her up from the airport, have fun in Toronto. So now I'm just in Edmonton. I had to stay the night in Edmonton. Train was the next day, and then I'm on the train with no Wi-Fi. So I spent 3 days, made some friends. I finished a 1,000-piece puzzle. No joke, that was like the highlight of the trip.
Awesome. Man, that's crazy, dude. And all this for wrong name?
Maybe it was the wrong name.
Yeah.
They know who my name is now. They know who I am now.
They know.
Yeah, they know
I'm
who
a
I am.
regular.
So at this point, they're just keeping you on for
shits and giggles.
Yeah, because at this point, it's like, all right, well, yeah, he was a little nervous, but I don't understand.
Have to. They don't. Here's the thing. Better safe than sorry. That's their
Right.
policy.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's just like,
he seems kind of sketchy. Should we investigate? Nah, just keep him on
just
the
keep him
list.
there.
No skin off their back.
yeah, but like what I'm trying to get at is, it defies logic because you would think that
So much about this defies logic.
yeah, I'm like, all of this defies logic.
I understand that part, but what I'm trying to get at is like, all right, there's someone out there in the world with your name or similar name that did something shady or terrorist-like, right? That person is out and about, apparently. And then there's you, who have the unfortunate luck of having the same name. Do they not, at the very least, track the guy that they're looking for?
The thing is that may not be the original reason. It could fully just be, I'm ethnically Egyptian.
Yeah.
Studying in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Trying to come back home to Canada.
Just your specifics.
Like, I just, they're just pure old stereotyping racism. Like, it could be
that's
just
really
that.
it.
Yeah.
That could
It's
be the
just
thing.
lazy racism.
100%.
It's like lazy, inefficient racism.
Yeah.
It's too much trouble to even take 5 minutes sorting this out than letting this guy, like,
Get
no,
into the
let's just let him
country.
track it.
Yeah.
Just let's let him figure it out.
Yeah, but like this is although it makes for a pretty entertaining story, but like there's a lot of damage here. I mean, like you've always been a very, like, not a calm guy because you have high energy, but like you don't seem to take things to heart. So you're kind of like, all right, this is the card I dealt. I'm going to stay positive. You're a very positive guy.
I went through the 7 stages of grief so quick on this one.
For this one, yeah,
So quick.
But like
In the airport in Iceland.
This is severely an emotional thing. You're trying to go
is.
home,
Yeah.
and there's so many extra things that you have to worry about. Like, you're taking trains, buses. You're trying to figure out whether
Planes,
or not.
trains, and automobiles. That's
Yeah.
my life.
And sad, like, you know what the sad part is? You're probably in the top 1% of people being inconvenienced by this.
Oh yeah. No, there's
you're
people
easily-
worse off.
You're one of the luckiest people to be inconvenienced by this thing.
100%.
Yeah.
I have to keep reminding myself how lucky I am that I can afford the. So the guy, the consular in Aaron in Iceland, he asked me, if you have to, could you buy a ticket to Edmonton? Like, can you afford? Because people, you don't know people's situations, man. They could just be like, this. I spent every dollar on this flight, you know.
Yeah.
So he was like, I was like, are there any options if I don't? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, the airline can't buy it for you. We can't, unfortunately, the Canadian government, we can't pay for the flight for you. Sometimes the airline, out of their own kindness, they might, let you buy the flight and then you just pay it off over time. Or what most people do is just friends and family. They just reach out to whoever they can and help them raise funds for the ticket. So I'm very lucky that I could just absorb that that damage from the flight and the train ticket.
If you didn't have family, you could have been homeless
100%.
in Iceland. Like,
It's not that bad. It's pretty nice. They're really nice there.
It's very pretty.
It's
not
very
gonna lie.
pretty.
No.
And they're like very well funded.
no one wants to be homeless.
They are. You know what? Here's the thing about Iceland. No homeless people. That's the thing. Is even crazy people. No joke. I was there, and I don't mean to call them crazy, but you know what I'm trying to say is people very unstable, super well dressed, and then will yell at a pigeon. And then I asked them, like, what? People with mental disabilities, like, yeah, we can take care of them all. And I was like, that's insane. But like, I remember we moved here as refugees.
Right.
Like, that's the one thing I remember through all of this
Which I'm very curious about, but maybe that's a conversation for another day.
That's a conversation. But it's like, we're very easily in the 1% of people that get inconvenienced.
Oh, yeah.
Because like for you, you're like, I wanted to be over jet lag and pick up my wife.
Yes.
While some people are like in a room, nobody knows that they're there, and they're going to be there for months. And when they get out, no one's going to be there to say even I'm sorry. Like, that's their life. So yeah, it's I'm just happy, especially with your disposition. I'm glad, like, I know you'll take it well. You're like, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I got a story right here.
No, I remember when Ramirez said his name, like, in the moment, I'm terrified shitless. Like, I'm nervous at that point.
Yeah.
But in my head, in the deepest recesses corners of my mind, I was like, this is going to be hilarious one day.
Yeah, that's smart, man. That's just like, that's how some people work.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know any other way to function other than just to roll with it.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to deal with it as it comes. And I'm very fortunate that I could just like take that on the chin.
Yeah,
and
man.
then I'm like, all right, well, I'll survive. I can still pay my bills and stuff like that. It took a hit in my savings, but I'll be okay, inshallah.
Yeah.
But other people, man.
Yeah, we had that where it's like there was just some forms you have to fill out to stay in the country, and they cost $300. And I was at the refugee office, just like a lawyer's office strictly for refugees.
Right.
And you could tell, like, some people, it was just that was more than they had, right? And it's now like you're faced with going back to wherever, Sudan and other, like, you get to know these families pretty well because they're all just in the rooms together. And I don't know. I feel like every day that puts things into perspective. Every day it puts things into perspective, whether it's like just even getting down here for the podcast sometimes. But no, thanks for reminding. Like, I know that it's it's like you're a hardship that we're like talking about and laughing about.
No worries.
But like it really makes me thankful thinking back on those situations where like you're like very much stuck between a rock and the hardest place.
Yeah, it makes me have so much less sympathy for people who just. So no one likes being like randomly selected, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I wish I was only randomly selected.
Yeah.
I really wish I would, man, the things I would give to just let me into the country. You know, I don't care. Don't let me in the United States. That's fine. I still have friends that grew up with in Atlanta there. Yeah. I have family. My brother lives in California. My uncle's in Missouri. That's fine. Don't let me into the country. Let me fly over. Yeah. But you can randomly search me all you want.
Yeah. I get randomly selected going in and coming out of US.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
My wife gets stuck.
But I don't really. It doesn't really bother me too much. They're pretty quick about it. They do a little sponge. Oh yeah. They like rub like that oxy pad on the thing.
Did they rub you with the back of their hands? Like I'm just gonna rub you with the back of my hands.
They ask if they want to go back or front. I go front.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm like if you're gonna touch.
I like the confidence in your
voice. You're gonna touch my balls.
Be impressed.
I want palm.
Yeah.
No, they don't. They do that.
Wow. I mean, it's confident.
But like, I'm just saying, if they gave me the choice, I'd say palm.
Sure.
Let's make it uncomfortable for everyone.
Oh yeah. Listen, we're both going through this.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I see. I never really, because for me, I always think about there was this thing about a taxi driver who got picked up and he just got lost in Guantanamo and he died there.
Wait, whoa.
Wait,
taxi driver in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
He was in the wrong place, wrong time.
Oh, I see.
Just picked him up,
took him to Guantanamo, died there.
That's
man.
it.
Yeah.
But when I cross the border, I always think about that in that I could just be disappeared.
Yes.
And then that's it. No one can find you. And they just put him there and they just beat his legs until he just died.
Have you guys seen, there's a series on Netflix about, I forget the name of it, but basically it's just, each episode is about someone who was accused and found guilty by a court, by a jury of their peers of a crime they did not commit.
Oh man.
And I forget the name of it, but basically every
Nightmare
episode.
Fuel?
Huh?
That's called Nightmare Fuel.
Yeah, and the thing, and there's like 10 episodes.
Yeah.
And
it'd be funny. He's like, it's called the news.
Yeah. No, but it just goes to show, like, the system can, if they want you, they've got you by the balls.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it. Like, like, in the episodes, you see people giving confessions to things they didn't give because they just felt coerced by the interrogator, by the police, by the FBI, whoever was interviewing them, and they didn't know their rights. Or even if they did know their rights, they were told those rights actually didn't exist, or whatever the circumstances are. If they want you, they got you.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky to be here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Good to have you.
So right now what you're doing is you're making a tour in Canada. You're like hitting up every like media thing ever. So,
oh
like,
my God.
So people know it's a bit more it's like, hey, we haven't heard from him in a while. Maybe we should check up on him.
Yeah. This is my last will and testament, guys. If anything happens.
We'll keep an eye.
I hope that's the end of that story, but I have a feeling it's going to rear its head every now and then.
Until you can fight it for realsies.
Basically, yeah. So inshallah, I'm planning to make a move back to Toronto.
Oh, really?
Yeah, inshallah. We'll see what happens. I'm looking at different opportunities or whatever. But when that happens, inshallah, that's when I will like seriously, because obviously it's more of a problem when I'm here.
Yeah.
Like when I'm in Malaysia, not as much of an issue because just I'm not coming over as much. But when I'm here, it's probably gonna rear its head a lot more. So when I come back,
why is that? What do you mean?
I mean, just being in Canada, right? So first off, a lot of jobs want you to be able to travel.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right. And also when I'm here, I just feel like I'll have, inshallah, time, energy, resources to
for you to be able to do it. Yeah, for sure. 100%.
To like hire a lawyer and just see what my options are and figure it out.
Yeah. Well, inshallah, man.
That's the idea. Sorry, this took a dark turn. I didn't want to make this podcast sad, man.
It wasn't sad. It was a little scary.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. But you're still alive. You're kicking.
I'm here, man.
And not only that, you eventually you'll be back over here, and then hopefully you can take it to them. You come over here, inshallah, get some funds together, and then after send a lawyer after them.
You can come here and just be another white guy.
Also, there's precedence.
Oh yeah?
Well, no. I mean, like the fact is that Malaysian lady that she did it, right?
Yeah.
So like, there's references and stuff. So it's not like they're reinventing a new case
actually,
and they can run it.
I was reading about there's actually, so obviously I'm not the only person this happened to, right? Like there's probably hundreds, maybe thousands of us who happened to. It's just that is relatively a very small amount of people relative to all the people who travel in and out of Canada and the US, like in any given day, month, year. But I read in the news recently that there is a group that is trying to put something together, some sort of like class action something. So I'm actually trying to figure out, see if I can get in on that.
For sure. Right. Don't be so sus though, bro.
Yeah. No, man.
I'm trying to think about getting into the whatever.
Finagle my way.
You make your intentions clear.
Yeah.
Non-violent support.
How non-threatening can I be? You know what I mean? Like,
I wish you could just told them that, guys.
no,
Hey,
the
this
guy
is
actually
me.
told me. It's crazy because the guy, when he said like, I want to believe you, he literally said, he looked me up and down. He's like, you seem like a well-adjusted, normal guy. And like, I look like sound,
Yeah.
like everything about my demeanor is just like random white dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he was calling out. Hey, I want to believe you. Everything is telling me you're clear. But that knee is going 1,000 miles an hour and I don't trust it.
All right. One last thing. Have you considered changing your name to like Brian O'Hare?
100% not.
Okay. Damn right.
He's like, I hate
Damn
that
right.
name, Brian O'Hare. Also, that's not how name changes work.
No, sir.
Love it.
Come at me, bro.
Love the energy. All right, brother. Well, all the best. I'm going to see you again. We're going to watch some UFC, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, man. I'm so glad. When you told me the fight is happening on the day that I'm leaving back to Malaysia, I was so sad.
Yeah, you were heartbroken.
Oh my God, you don't understand. And like I was telling him, I don't know if we have time. Like my dad recently got into UFC this past week over Khabib.
Nice.
Because Khabib is the most Muslim fighter.
Hey man, you need to calm down. It's like you're telling him this podcast. I know.
You can't flex while you say that, bro. You're on a list. I don't know if you know this. You on a list. You want to be so moderate. You be so moderate. Be like, yo, sometimes super moderate.
Yeah, no,
Can't work out until you can't work out until you come back to Canada and hire a lawyer.
Oh my goodness!
Because can you imagine if you have traps? You'd be like, look, obviously he's a bad guy.
My shoulder started from here. Yeah.
I said salam alaikum to my dad and a police officer in the mall, and my dad goes, and I was like, and I immediately like, oh yeah, and that was me too. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Shit, let's go over here.
Dang, man.
But yeah, that's what you do sometimes when you're from Texas.
Yeah, I don't know how to be low key. But yeah, the fight's going to be awesome. It's in the afternoon.
Yeah,
apparently.
2
My
o'clock.
flight's in the evening.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm good.
Come
it's
through.
Be awesome.
Hey man, thanks for hanging out. And thanks for telling the story.
Yeah,
which,
man.
by the way, I've been
Yeah.
waiting for like 5 years.
I know.
Because the first time you told me about this, you're like, I will tell you later on sometime in the future. And now here it is. I
Yeah.
waited a long time for this.
I know, man. I'm glad we
Yeah.
were able to make it happen.
All right, people, thank you for listening to the podcast. This has been episode 202. Thanks for hanging with us. We'll be back in a week. Take care of yourselves. Good night. Thank you for tuning into the podcast once again, and thank you to our sponsor, Canadian Glasses, which is located in Mississauga, 1351 Matheson Boulevard. Check them out at canadianglasses.ca. Tell them Crash and Flow sent you, and you will get an extra 10% off of your order. Okay, we're out. See you next week.